Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel PantherSchools. My name is Amit Singh and we are back again with our interview question and answer series. This is going to be the episode number 4 where we are going to take the interview for a candidate who is Salesforce developer. So, we have tried to cover most of the Salesforce development terms, most of the Salesforce development questions, including try to cover scenario based questions as well as also some sort of deployment questions. So, this is really going to be amazing for all of you. So, go ahead and enjoy the podcast and please don't forget to like, share, subscribe the channel so that you don't miss any other updates that are coming from our channel. So, let's start the podcast.
Okay, so what's the need to use Copado?
Copado, so initially for deployments, we were using Ant, and the deployment, so the developers had another challenge to merge all the stories and then do the deployment. So it was a big task. So to reduce the effort, we so there was quite a few errors happening because there were multiple developers working on similar codes and conflict resolution, and so the Git repository it was not set up properly. So that was the challenges that we had. So we tried using SFDX deployment pattern for a while, and it
Mm-hmm.
was working good. But yeah, I think the deployment team had few problems with that as well. So then we decided on getting this tool, Copado, wherein everything is streamlined and we have the user stories maintained within the production org itself, and we can easily collaborate because earlier there were two different systems. We were using um, Jira for our
Mm-hmm.
stories. So yeah, I think this is much better, and we can define release pipeline for all the
Okay.
stories for a particular release, and the sandboxes can be defined. So once a story gets completed, we can automatically select the metadata for that story. We don't need to create change sets or make a package and do the deployment stuff. So the system automatically picks it up and deploys it to the next level of sandbox. And then, yeah, there are quite a few automations that can be done. So once it is deployed, we can add a chatter node to the testing team and the product owners so that they'll be aware of the story has been progressed ahead. So it's a seamless experience for the
All right.
development. Yeah.
Okay, so that's good. So what do you understand by the back promotion in Copado?
Batch promotion,
Back promotion.
back promotion. Okay. So if so, once a story gets deployed to production org, it needs to be back promoted to the sandboxes, which it was not in the past. For example, we have a hotfix sandbox, and there are different sandboxes for every releases. So, for example, one release got deployed maybe last week, and there's another release that is been worked upon, and that sandbox is behind all the updates that was done or that was deployed to the production. So in order
Mm-hmm.
to keep all the orgs in sync, we usually initially we used to refresh the sandboxes, right? So to avoid frequent refreshes and do the configuration, setting up the sandboxes again from scratch, what we do is we can also uh, back
Okay.
promote the stories into these lower sandboxes wherein we can have all those stories available.
Okay. And
Or
what do we do if I have to like promote the stories from lower environment to the higher environment?
uh, lower environment to higher environment. So it's a normal commit process. You have to commit the stories and then it gets promoted.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. So as you have said that you use SFDX also, so can you please let me know what's the exit code that you get when you get the successful deployment?
Exit code.
Yep.
Uh, I'm not sure about that.
So what are the different types of events do we have in Lightning?
Um, component events and application events.
Mm-hmm.
So basically, uh, so component events, we want to interact with the parent component. We can use that event to interact with them. Uh, and the application events is more of a broadcast. For example, if a component is like they have a notification or something added on the component, so they can be notified that this particular change has been done, and they'll update, or a particular event gets fired, all the fields gets updated in the backend.
So that happens in the both event like component and application, right? All right. So suppose you have one VF page and you want to use that Visual Force page in your Lightning community.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So what will you do to show your page in Lightning community?
Mm, so Visual Force page, we have an option of lightning out. I think that's the parameter
But
which we can.
in the community, like your page is not visible.
Yep. So maybe we can create a component and then use the Visual Force page there, and then drag this component into the Lightning page,
That's
community
the
page.
workaround that we can do. That's another thing. But if I want to use the VF page only in my community, so what feature should I enable that it should reflect in my community?
Maybe there's a checkbox, and we can make it visible for communities. I'm not sure because I've not used it.
Okay. So if you want to use, as you are saying that you can use the VF page in a component. So where in what tag you will use your VF page
Mm,
in your component?
page block tag maybe.
Uh, like you are in the component, you are using a Lightning component, and you want to include the VF page there. So how you can refer your VF in the Lightning component?
Mm, I think I'll have to check that. I'm not 100% sure of that. But I know that we could do it. Yeah, but I'll have to research a few more on that point.
Okay, do you have you heard about the iframe?
Sorry,
Iframe.
iframe. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Why do we use iframe?
Uh, iframe. I've heard of that, but yeah, I think it's. I think that can be used for importing uh, Visual Force pages.
Yeah, you can use your VF page in the iframe. Like I was asking, you can include your VF in the Lightning component, so you can have iframe in the component.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah, I'll have to explore that point. Yeah.
yeah. It's like I am integrating with some third-party application,
Mm-hmm.
or I want to use the security token. So, like whenever we change the password, you get an email of security token, right?
Yes.
But I have my password, but I don't want to change my password. I want to reset the security token. How can I do? Yeah, so not everyone like wants to change the password, and they want to just change from the Salesforce itself to reset the security token. So, do you have idea like from where we can reset it?
Mm, no, I think I don't have it on top of my head. Probably could we query it? I'm not sure.
Okay, so have you see an option there when you go to my settings?
Yes. Yeah. Uh,
So
So
there
it
you
said
get
reset.
multiple.
Yeah, reset my security token. There's a
Right. So
link.
there you
Yeah.
multiple option like grant login access, and there you can see the security reset security token, all these
Yes.
features, right?
Yeah. So we can
All.
get that.
So okay, so let's dig more into it. Suppose I'm not able to see the reset the security token there also. Like I went to the my settings, and there also I'm not able to see this reset the security token. And how will I reset? What I will do to reflect this? What feature he should enable, or what thing he should do to get it reflected in the my settings? Normally it reflects there in the my settings, like reset my security token, but it's not visible there. How will I show? What
Mm,
will do?
I
Any
think
idea?
uh, on the user record there should be a checkbox developer. Maybe that is required for us to have that access.
User record.
No, mm, I'm not sure about that. Yeah.
Okay. So what happens when you do have a profile,
Hmm.
and if you have set the IP configurations there,
Okay.
so it doesn't reflect in the my settings. So once you remove the IP there, IP restrictions, then it will reflect in the my settings.
Okay. I didn't know that.
Okay. So what are wrapper classes?
Um, Wrapper classes could be an inner class within the class wherein we can create few fields that we can use. Maybe creating a we can create a child uh, object of the parent class and then use it that way. Maybe iterate through it and add records.
Okay, so why do we need to use the wrapper class when we are already having classes?
So wrapper classes are mostly used when we need a collection of the data uh,
Mm-hmm.
that that we need to show it on the page. Uh, so we make use of the wrapper classes at that time.
Collection refers here. What what do you
Collection
understand by collection in Salesforce?
collection as in multiple records, uh, multiple number of records we can
Multiple
store,
records or object?
multiple objects actually, related objects as well.
Okay, so what are the collections that we use in Salesforce?
So collections we can use map, list, string.
String,
Uh, sorry,
string.
set,
Okay, and
list, set,
what is
map.
string?
String. Are you saying string?
Yeah, you said string.
No, no. So collection. I think a string is also a collection of multiple strings. So
String is a collection. Okay, so normally we use only list, set, and map in Salesforce.
yeah,
Okay, okay. Uh, you have worked on VF page long back, but if you remember, there is something called view state.
view state. Yes.
Yeah, what's that?
So view state is the, I think, a restriction that we have on the page. So pages that the web pages have limitation of, I think, 135 KB. I think that's updated right now. Uh, so
It got
to in
changed
order
to 170
175,
KB.
yeah,
170.
170, 75 maybe. I don't know.
It's 170 KB.
Okay.
Yeah. Go ahead.
So yeah, so basically the data that we show on the page, so that's the restriction we need to abide through. Otherwise, if the if it is more, then the page crashes and gives us an error. So it usually happened in on Visual Force pages. I think the Lightning pages and the Lightning layouts are more intuitive, and it makes sure that doesn't the page doesn't break.
Mm-hmm. What's the entitlement and milestone?
Uh, Entitlements. So milestones are probably escalation. There are escalation rules as well, which we use it basically. Entitlements are the SLAs that we have, uh, and milestones. Yeah, basically the service level agreement for the cases response time, and how the agents should abide through those.
Like it's the actually the unit of the customer support that we use in the Salesforce. So like we do have the phone support, web support, right? So
Hmm.
that comes under the entitlement.
Okay.
And milestones comes under the steps to resolve your issue, like your response time there.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
Probably.
Okay. It's the time dependent step, like you have some response time there
Uh-huh.
to resolve
That
your case. So
okay.
it's
And a particular
that.
might be a task that needs to be done. Probably send an email or do some update on the record.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right. What do you understand by the opportunity product and opportunity line item? What's the difference between these two?
And I don't have an answer for that.
Okay. So actually, that's a very like basic difference here. So see, opportunity products are just like a product. See, that are the individual items that you sell to your customers.
Uh-huh.
Okay, through your opportunity. And opportunity line item are nothing. They are just when you attach any product to your opportunity, it gets opportunity line.
Okay. Okay.
Products are something that is a simple product or any item that you sell to your customers. And when
Mm-hmm.
it's get to the opportunity, it becomes opportunity line item.
Line item. Okay.
Right.
Opportunity products. So basically, these are all standard features, right? Which Salesforce provides us.
Yeah, so these are products that you sell to your customer through your opportunities or like you use quotes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay.
Thank you for that. Yeah.
Okay. So you have worked in the agile as well, right?
Yes.
So which tool did you use to manage your project?
So for Agile, we were using uh, Rally. Rally was one of the tools
Uh-huh.
we used to
Right.
store user stories, and then the burn maps and all. So there are dashboards wherein we can see how the team is performing, and so yeah. So we have this daily stand-up calls, and we have sprint planning sessions, and um, we also have the demos, the sprint once. I think there's another thing.
So you have written triggers.
Yes.
Okay, so what are the best practices to write a trigger?
Best practices would be um, to have a single trigger per object. Maybe make use of bulkification to handle multiple records once they are triggered on the uh, triggered, and then avoid doing DMLs within the for loops. Making use of handler classes. So keep the trigger number of codes limited, and use handler classes to do all the processing work, and make
Mhm.
use of the context variables, is before, is after, and keep the logic as modular as possible, so that whenever more changes comes in, it's easier to maintain.
Okay.
Yeah. I think
So how many do you have in trigger
how many actions, context variables,
events?
events. Okay. Uh, so basically, insert, update, and delete, and we can also use ease up, ease insert, um, ease update, ease delete, ease before, uh,
Mainly the before and after,
until.
right?
Yes, yes.
Okay. So can we have more than one trigger on one object?
Mm, yes, I think we can have more than one trigger per object, but yeah, it is not advisable to have that.
Okay. So when you write some trigger, uh, do you use the existing trigger or you create new trigger?
We try to use the existing trigger because it is created in that way that any future developments could be easily handled. We try to make any changes on the handler classes because uh, so we already have this is insert and is update parameters set in the triggers, and it
Mm-hmm.
calls the respective handlers. So we go and make the necessary changes on the handler classes rather than making any changes on the triggers directly.
Okay. What's the difference between the change set and ant migration tool?
Uh, so it is almost like ant migration tool uses codes, basically command line interface to do the deployment and to extract the. So basically, what we did is we made use of both the scenarios wherein a user. So as a developer, we used to create change sets and then using. So yeah, I think I'm getting confused with the ant migration and SFDX. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah, ant migration helps us to deploy the packages which is already extracted.
So
Uh,
what are the files that we use in the ant migration? Like you configure some files.
yeah, package.xml is required
Mm-hmm.
uh, for the for extracting the metadata from the Salesforce org. Then we zip it and then we can deploy it to. So I think ant migration have not actually been a part of the entire process of deployment, whereas SFDX we have a few commands wherein we can validate and deploy the
Mm-hmm.
packages across the orgs, create the org credential for a specific sandbox, and then push it across
And
to those sandboxes.
apart from like package XML, like you also use the build file, right?
Yeah. So yeah, I think that's with the ant deployment, right? So yeah, I'm not I've not done that explicitly for any of the projects specifically. Yeah.
Okay. First of all, what's actually recursive trigger?
So recursive trigger is maybe when an object gets updated, a field gets updated, and it goes into trigger logic again, and it tries to update the same field again. So it goes into a recursive loop, right? Uh, so I think Salesforce itself have has a system which handles that. Probably for 5 iteration is it goes, but we can also handle it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think we can create a variable which checks for if it's been trying to update the same field over again, and we can restrict by doing that. Maybe not add it on the loop.
So what we do, we create one like a static Boolean variable and we set the value as true there.
Hmm.
And when we run our trigger, we check the trigger and make it false. So that it should not be like we will check our Boolean variable value.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
We will just make it false so that it should not trigger again.
Yeah, we actually do that only.
Yeah. All right. So suppose I am having one private method in my Apex class. Okay.
Hmm.
And when I'm writing the test class, I want to cover that private method.
Yeah.
How can I do?
Uh, I think there's a annotation that we can use. Is test visible? So that will allow it to be visible on the test classes.
Is test visible or test visible?
Yeah, I think it's something of in that lines.
Yeah, it's at test visible. Yeah.
At the rate test visible, yeah.
Okay. What are the governance limits in Salesforce?
Governor limits would be uh, DML queries,
Okay.
maybe 50,
Uh, that's 50,000 is in the
50,000. Yeah, 50,000 number of
when you
records.
retrieve by circle, the total number of records it's 50.
Yeah, so there are different limits for synchronous and asynchronous.
Yeah, for
So
DML it's 150, like total number of DML statement that you can issue.
150. Okay.
Yeah. All right. So we use custom settings also in Salesforce, right?
Yes.
So what's the need to use custom settings?
So custom settings we make use so basically we don't need to hard code few logics on the Apex classes. So to keep it so we should not hard code IDs and some other details on the Apex logic to make it dynamic. We make use of custom settings. We can use those records in the Apex classes while execution.
Mm-hmm.
And we can also make use of custom metadata in some scenarios because it's easier for us to deploy through custom settings are basically it's a manual step in the deployment, and we cannot easily add it on the deployment steps. So maybe we need to do a data load to have the custom settings values added. But whereas metadata also serves a similar purpose, we can
Mm-hmm.
use it in the similar lines, and it can also be added as a package into the package and get it deployed. So that's the other way which we can use.
Okay. So what is auth?
OAuth is mm, the technology by which it authenticates the user. If so, maybe if you want to log into a Salesforce org using OAuth, we can set it up using the Gmail, Google credentials. So that makes use of the OAuth technology to authenticate that the person is valid, and so they'll allow. So it's a mm, verification process.
Or you can say authorization.
Authorization, yes. I was not getting the term.
Okay.
Uh, yeah. To identify the user is valid and uh, allow the uh, login to proceed.
Okay. So how many types of reports do we have in Salesforce?
Hmm. Uh, I don't recollect. I think it's been a while. Yeah, I'm actually not prepared for this.
Okay, that's a very basic one. So we do have four types of report. We do have tabular, summary, matrix, and joint reports.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So like I was talking about the reports also. So we do have something called bucket field in reports.
Hmm. Yes.
Uh, what do you understand by bucket field?
My reporting is very weak, so I think you determined that in the first question itself. But I think bucket fields we can uh, maybe collect a few fields. Yeah. I don't want to waste your time just
Okay.
figuring out what the answer should be.
So you create a bucket field in the report itself. It's just like you want to group your report data, or you can just filter or arranging your report data in report. So
Okay,
using
so
bucket field that you are organized and you can filter and group your report data.
okay, so it's kind of a real time field that we create within
Right,
the
right.
report. So
Within the
okay,
report itself. Okay.
okay, thank you.
All right. So let's test something about your security knowledge in Salesforce.
Okay,
So what what's the security model in Salesforce?
security model. So basically, we have uh, organization-wide defaults that we can set
Mhm.
for to um, restrict. So basically, there are two restrictions that can add on the record level, record visibility, and other is the object accessibility.
Mhm.
So object accessibility is mostly managed through uh, profiles and permission sets. So that determines if a user has an access to a particular object or not, and what all fields they have access to. The other comes the record level access, that is which records they are able to see. So this is determined uh, by profiles and uh, sharing settings. Um, so yeah, I think
Okay.
that
So
role hierarchy is also there, wherein the record level access can be determined,
mhm.
uh, and sharing rules, manual sharing, so we
Right.
can open up access through that.
Yeah. Okay. So we do have the object level, record level, and field level access
Yes,
securities, right?
yes.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. So suppose let's pick it up one scenario. So I'm having manager
Mhm.
and he's above in the hierarchy. Okay.
Yep.
All right. So he can access the records of the user who is below in his hierarchy, right?
Yep.
All right. So suppose manager is not having access on one object.
Hmm.
So will he be able to view the records
No.
below in hierarchy?
So he doesn't have an access to the object. So
But he is higher in hierarchy
yes.
of
So
that
yeah.
user.
Okay. So role hierarchy is based on opening up access to the records, but whereas if a particular user doesn't have access to that object, then they'll not be able to view that record, even if they are on the higher role hierarchy.
Mm. Okay. Yeah. If the manager is not having access to the object,
Yeah.
so he'll not be able to access the records.
Yes.
Right. So that's the correct thing because to access your records, first of all, you need the access on the object,
Object. Correct.
right? If you don't have the access on the object, you don't have the permission, so then how will you see the records? Okay.
Yes.
It's
Yeah.
like object is just like the table and their records. So if you are not having the access on the table, how will you be able to view the record, right?
Yes. Yes. So that we can provide by using profiles and permission sets.
Right.